current moves? Can you finish off a pizza in between your second and third turn? Can you ride a panda across the plains of Dewey? Do you have what it takes to stop an evil wizard from destroying your village? Do you tell your friends to call you Dungeon Master? Can you muster the strength to play one more game after 2 a.m.? Can you be the chosen one all the way up to bedtime? Have you ever dared to say no and pick your best friend's favorite character anyway? Have you ever randomly shouted nonsense because you thought it would be funny, and it wasn't? Well, we haven't done most of those things either, but we are willing to try. Join us as we explore the world of board gaming and all the crazy things that come with it. Welcome to the Epic Gaming Night Podcast.
Welcome to the Epic Gaming Night Podcast, a podcast about tabletop games, but mostly board games. Here tonight, I'm your host, Roy Caney, and with me tonight are Matt.
Hello.
Rob.
Hello, hello.
And today we have special guest, Josh.
Hello, hello, hello.
Yes, I was hoping you would do that.
Everybody's got some extra hellos.
Yeah, we gotta ramp it up.
Awesome. And I would attempt to say your last name, Josh, but I don't think I can quite make that happen. So, Josh, tell us a little bit about who you are.
I can hear the Twitch stream. That's my fault. Oh boy. Sorry, where were we?
Is that better?
Nice. So this is our guest, Josh. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well, hi, I'm Josh Lobkowicz. I'm the head of game development for Gray Fox Games. I'm an avid gamer. I listen to this podcast and several other podcasts, and I play games every chance I get.
Nice.
Would you be so bold to say that this is the greatest thing you've ever heard? Oh, boy.
This moment of podcast radio might be the greatest moment I've ever heard.
Is it because of your own voice, or?
I mean,
hey, it doesn't matter
entirely,
where.
Not entirely, but it helps.
He was part of one of the greatest experiences.
I'll take it.
Of all times.
That's right.
Nice. So, our topic tonight is going to be board game development, seeing that Josh does board game development at Gray Fox Games. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about what we've been playing.
Yeah. So who wants to go first?
Do you want me to start?
Yes.
So we played a game of Shadows over Camelot on our Twitch stream on Friday. And basically Shadows over Camelot is a cooperative, semi-cooperative game where one player could be the traitor. You're basically all knights in Camelot trying to go on different quests to gain swords. So you're trying to get a number of white swords before the thing fills up with black swords. So you get white swords by completing quests, and you get black swords by failing quests. And normally those quests are completed by sort of like poker hand mechanics and these different cards you play. And also there's like a Grail quest, and there's a quest where you just discard cards. But other than that, it's like a full house and like 2 pairs and things like that to complete these quests with different number cards you get during the game. Each person is given a loyalty roll, and there's a chance that one of the players could be a traitor. But there could also not be a traitor in the game because you shuffle the cards up and there's an extra one. We played a 7-player game, and it was pretty fun. Basically, there's all these different cards. This is one of those games where bad cards come out each turn, and there's all these different cards that try to screw you up as you're going along the game. How'd you guys like that game?
It was fun. I had a good time.
Always have a blast. It's a good game. I will say, though, Matt was not a knight. He was a Zaya ship from the future that went through a wormhole to help us out, defeat the traitor, who, again, was Roy Canady, who I will never trust again.
No way! I'm not the traitor ever!
Every single time we play a game and there could be a traitor, you're the traitor.
To be fair, this was the first game that I've played at Roy's house that I was not the traitor for.
Do you let him set up the game? Does he shuffle and deal the rolls? Yeah.
I think that has something to do with it.
I definitely didn't want to be the traitor because I'm so much better at not being the traitor in that game. Like, I'm so good at just being like, you do this, we're doing this. And I was like so good at like masking that I was the traitor by like telling everybody like, hey, we need to do these things that are going to help us. That Rob was like,
no, you definitely make a great traitor because you're so helpful. So it's like, no way Roy's lying. Like, he's like the nicest guy right now.
I'm
like,
always
he's just helping stuff out. However, I was trying to go 2 for 2 on my little hunches. Like last time I thought Hector was going to be the bad guy, and he was Hector. And for some reason, Matthew, a.k.a. the Beard, just gave me a look, and I was like, oh, it's Matt. And the whole night, I was just like, I don't trust you. I don't care what happens.
I literally look at him and smile before the loyalty cards are dealt out, and he's like, you're the traitor. And I was like, what in the world? And the whole time, he was just like, hey, man.
But you can't, like, giggle during that time. Like, you look at your loyalty card, and it's like, it's like, no, you can't do that. Like, that automatically makes you the bad guy.
Matt's character was the one that like gives you extra life like whenever you're at a completed quest. So he had like tons of life, and every single round he was like, for the bad thing I'm taking life damage, for the bad thing I'm taking life damage. I'm like, Matt, stop it. We need bad things to happen. Stop it. And then
it was good.
The catapults were getting really high because one of the ways you can lose the games is by filling up the entire like field of battle with catapults, and then Camelot becomes overrun, so you lose the game. And like it was getting really full, and I was like talking about how much we need to fight off these catapults, even though I probably should have just kept my mouth shut. But I wanted you guys to know that I was good, so I was like, we gotta fight these catapults. And I was like, dude, give me cards to fight the catapults. And Rob like let me take like a 5, and I got like a 4, and I was taking all these high number cards for you guys, and then I totally like ran off somewhere else, like, and didn't fight any catapults with them. I was like, come on, catapults. And I'm just hoping that it comes around to my turn, and there's just enough catapults that I can put the last one on. But it never happened.
Save us. Hector and Danny
were wrecking some catapults.
How many Merlins did that guy have?
Well, I mean, you were also passing him some cards too, right, to help him out?
Yeah, but I never passed him a Merlin. I mean, Danny would do like 2 amazing things, and then for his special ability, oh yeah, Merlin. He did that like 3 or 4 turns in a row. Like
it was just super awesome since he could do it as a free action
out there to stop you from betraying all of us again. So, just like if the zombie apocalypse ever really does happen, you are not allowed in my group. Because I just don't trust you.
Doesn't Roy have a tell? Like, his negotiation go-to, isn't it browbeating other players? Does he do that when he's the bad guy, too?
I do when I'm the bad guy, I do when the good guy.
Not when he's the traitor. Now, if you know he's a bad guy, he can be like... He can be Roy. I'll say that.
Because Roy, I thought that was your move. The do what you're told or you're the betrayer.
Right, but I do that.
That's when he's a good guy. That's when he's a good guy.
Right, he does that. If he's not doing that, it's out the airlock with him.
Well, that's what I did also, because like I was fighting with Rob. When I'm the traitor, I'm like, Rob, we need to get this Grail thing done. We need to do the Grail. We need to do the Grail quest, because I know when the Grail quest flips, like it makes like tons of catapults come out all the time, and they were already complete.
The issue with that. AJ was the issue on that one. I had a bunch of Grail cards. I was with you 100%.
But I was still trying to order people around to do the right thing, because I had to act the way I normally act. So I was too good. I helped too much.
They're always saying that about you.
Right? Well, he's just so amazing.
He gives too much.
I give too much. Cares.
Have you played Shadows over Camelot, Josh?
Yeah, I have. I mean, back when it first came out, we played a lot of it, and the only thing I don't like about that game is that there might not be a traitor. I hate the possibility that it's actually cooperative, kind of by accident.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be hunting the bad guy or be the bad guy.
Yes.
Like, I know some people
and we were in it together all along is kind of a letdown for me.
Yeah. Some people...
Does Dead of Winter do that for you as well? Because it's the same mechanic in Dead of Winter. There could be a traitor.
It does, but like it's... Like, I like Dead of Winter, I think, more, but it has kind of this inverse effect. Like, in Dead of Winter, even if we're all working together, like, everybody's still a traitor because of the personal goals.
Yeah, exactly.
We lost because you're a jerk, and you weren't even the traitor, is how that game makes me feel.
Nice.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I think Shadows over Camelot's cool just because it goes up to a decently high player count, and the turns get slow, but you can still be invested in everybody's turn a lot of the times. So, and people can drop in and out of that game. Like, it has rules for that, which is interesting to see in a board game. It's like, oh, you came in late? Well, we're playing 5-player Shadows over Camelot. Just come in. We'll hand you a loyalty. You're probably the traitor now. We're going to have to destroy you.
I love the theme, and I think it actually does really well for the theme. The whole, Knights of Round Table, King Arthur, the catapults, and the minis and everything are really well put together. So it's just, overall, it's a good, fun game. And a lot of games have used it as a platform to jump off of. And so it's always been a favorite of mine.
Yeah, I agree. It's beautifully produced. It's a lot of fun. Do you guys know there's a card game version of it as well?
Yes.
I did not know that. What?
The card game version I actually got for like a Dirty Secret Santa thing for like my game group back in the day. And one of my friends got the game afterwards, and I really wanted to play it. Like, I brought this to this thing because like I was excited about the game, and he never brought it back to game group. And I think last I talked to him, he still never played it, and I was so sad because I'm like, I want to play that game.
I think it's a good game. I mean, it feels a lot different than the full version, but one of the things that I like about it is that it scales down really well. Like, you can play it with 3 or 4, and it still has the excitement. It still has the potential for a traitor, and like it scales down really well. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. It's got a lot of like memory and stuff like that in it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it can. Like, if you have a good memory, if you can card count, you're going to be able to get a better read on people, and you're going to be able to better succeed in the quests. But there's often so many cards going by that like you really have to be a savant to keep up. You kind of have to play it with intuition. If somebody can play it perfectly, probably it's not going to be a lot of fun to play with them, but most people cannot do that.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look that game back up because I was pretty excited about it when it first came out. Nice. Who wants to go next?
Oh, me.
You wanna go?
I want to go.
Okay, good.
Oh man, I just pick one thing I'm playing recently.
You're the guest. You could talk about whatever.
Let me start with one thing. We played. Did you guys see when Gray Fox did the Kickstarter for Deception, Murder in Hong Kong?
I missed that. There's only.
It's okay.
There's only one company I follow on Kickstarter. I know it's really bad.
It's not bad. You don't need to follow me on Kickstarter. I was just wondering if you had a frame of reference. We just kickstarted a re-implementation of a game called CS Files. And the re-release is Deception, Murder in Hong Kong. But I have one of the old versions of CS Files, and that is the game that's been coming out at my group most recently because it is social deduction with actual evidence in a way that scales down. So we had a couple good games last week. I brought it to my game group, and we had one in this game. It's this typical like werewolf scenario, right? Somebody's the murderer, and let me give you a brief how it works in some sense. It's sort of Mysterium meets the Resistance. So one of the good guys knows the solution to the crime and can only convey evidence by putting tokens on tiles.
Yeah.
And everybody else is trying to figure out killers, trying to dissuade them. Right? So in this game we played last week, I was the killer, and right off the bat, I had aligned myself with the good guys. We had pinpointed somebody else as who the murderer was, and they were just going through guesses, trying to out the killer. And when we got to the final round, there's this final presentation phase where everybody gets just a 30-second period to make their case. And so we actually had it on timer dig down, and we were at the final 10 seconds, and the guy that we had been putting suspicion on was on to me and had picked the answer. And I tried to go really bold, like, yeah, you think that's it? Just go ahead and guess it, trying to make him. and he pulled it off with 6 seconds to go and busted me. So it was one of those.
What's the name of this game?
You look at the timer and you're like, come on!
What's the name of this game? This sounds awesome.
Deception, Murder in Hong Kong is the name of the new release. It's based on an old game called CS Files.
Nice. How long does this game take to play?
A full game, you usually play several of them back to back. It lasts about 15 minutes a session.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow. Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I'll give you
amazing.
A second little anecdote here. Is that when we were putting together the re-implementation, I was playtesting it with my game group, and my wife was playing with us, and her name is Dawn. And the tiles, which you can express the answer, are really kind of obtuse and abstract. So you're giving these vague clues for them to narrow down the murderer and the murder weapon and the stuff. And she's the killer in this game. And one of the tiles came out, and it was time of the crime. And so it had sunrise, dawn, morning, afternoon, evening, and so on. And she was so shaken by the fact that her name showed up on there, she totally blew her cover and
That's
went,
awesome.
you guys got to take that tile out of the game. It's going to be used against me. So she left it in the game so I can use it against her.
Yeah, exactly.
Time of the crime. Her name.
Yeah, she did it.
She
right,
did it.
right there.
Every time someone puts Dawn, they're just gonna automatically accuse her.
Right. So it also becomes
would.
useless when
We
she's
would.
not evil.
Yeah. I love it.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's been a blast.
I'm going to check that out. Deception, Murder in Hong Kong. So we played on Friday night. We played Run, Fight, or Die, which, speaking of wives, my wife actually really loves this game. I got it last year at Gen Con at the Cray Fox Games booth because you guys were doing a big deal where you had just completed a Kickstarter, I believe, and you could buy everything that was on the Kickstarter if you bought it all at once for like $20 off or something like that. So I got the big guy, the expansion.
You got all the fun stuff.
Oh my goodness, there are so many zombies in this game. For like a little box game, I run out of room. There's so many zombies for this game. It's huge. It's amazing. So I do love it.
That game we did in partnership with 8th Summit. It's actually their game now, but we were sharing the booth at Gen Con. We had 4 tables running it that year, and a lot of fun with it.
That's awesome.
Oh, it's such a great game. The game, to be very simple, you get a character, and each character comes with a sheet that has 3 different zones: level 1, level 2, level 3, or 3 different areas. And the game starts off with 2 zombies on level 1, 3 zombies level 2, and 4 zombies level 4. And basically, it's, if you ever like Call of Duty Zombies, it's like that as a board game, because it's wave after wave after wave after wave of zombies. And as you kill zombies, different events are going to happen, or you may find a place and the place says you get to do this, but then add X zombies, or you pull an event card, or let's say you're trying to run away from zombies. You have to pick a fleeing card, and the fleeing card may say add 3 more zombies into your zone too, just because I don't like you. And so it's like, this stuff is terrible. But it's a board game mixed with dice. I mean, the moves and the combinations and everything that you're going to do are based on the dice that you roll.
Right.
And, man, the dice were not good to me. Oh,
They were amazing to you at the beginning of the game.
at the beginning of the game, I was killing. We were playing with 4 people.
You had a
and
bajillion followers.
I had 5 followers. They all had, like, amazing abilities. So I was just, like, wrecking. I was doing fantastic. But then towards the end, I would my gray dice that you get that kind of sets the mood for your turn, I kept on getting the wound dice. And so for like 3 turns in a row, my wound is going down. My wound is going down. Well, then our friend Hector brought up the boss zombie. And after everybody goes, if you haven't killed the boss zombie, you have to draw one of his cards after each person's turn. Well, I drew a card, and it was like, add 5 zombies. It was something stupid. I was like, this is so bad. And so on my next turn, I couldn't kill off all the zombies. I ended up getting a hit, but I was able to heal. So I was like down to 1 life. And it comes to my turn again, and I have a successful turn. I even was able to shoot the boss zombie, got a couple extra victory points. I was doing so great. Like, all of my survivors, by this time I had just gotten another survivor. I have like 21 points with survivors.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And
I
no
draw
one
the
else
boss
was even
zombie cards.
close. I think I ended the game with like 6 or something like that.
Yeah, and half of your points were your health. Like, I
Right.
definitely had the most survivors, and we were a couple survivors away from winning, because in 4-player game, as soon as 4 or 11 survivors or 11 followers are rescued, then the game ends. And the boss zombie card, take 2 more wounds, and I just die. And I'm like, no! And here's the thing is, like, if I could have just survived 1 more turn, I would have made it. Because the guy next after me, his name was Danny, fun guy, but he had a minimum of like 14 zombies in his zone 1.
Yeah, he was gonna die. Bad.
And Roy right behind him had like 10 plus in his zone 1. And so I was like, okay, They're going to die. Unless they just roll amazing, these guys are going to die. And nope, I got the stupid wounds again.
Yeah,
and not
everyone
stupid,
was right
just,
on the edge. And I was like, we need to figure out what we can do to just pile more zombies on Rob. Because, like, you had, like, halfway through the game. The thing is, Rob, what was it, the church card or something like that?
Yeah, I got the church card in, and the location.
Rob went to church and had everybody following him out of that place. He was, like, in there testifying or something. Like, everybody was like, Rob is master. Follow Rob. Exactly.
We were having revival. It was revival that just swept across the place. But
I know.
What's great about the church location is it says that for each search icon you roll, you can get a follower, up to 2 extra followers just for those icons. And so I may have gotten this rule wrong, but I ended up rolling like 4 search icons. So I got my 2 that came with the church, and then I used the other 2 to get an additional follower. So in one turn, I got like 3 more followers. And all of the followers were amazing. Like I got the kid that lets you remove a guy from zone 1 at the beginning of your turn.
You got the geek guy who gave you an extra die.
The nurse girl that eliminates... she eliminates the ability of somebody that's bad, you know, in your following group. And then I got I can't remember the guy, but he pushes somebody back. I can't remember the character's name, but he pushes somebody back in his zone. And so, like, starting off in a zone, like, my one bad thing was canceled. I got to eliminate a guy, I got to push people back. It was fantastic. But those dice. And yes, Roy did do this, and Hector did this. Both of you guys. You know when you draw that card and it says, add or take 3 zombies from your zone 3 and add them to another player's zone 3. Well,
yep.
I was definitely that guy.
You own the game, and you had like a bajillion followers. It's like, oh man. See, the real hero of that game was the mutant zombie guy, because he pulled through on the end and like took you out for us. He was like the hero of the game, because like all of us had like no points. Like Hector had like 3, and Danny was gonna die. He had like one point at the end of the game because he only had like
he only had 1 life left too.
Yeah, so he had like nothing, and I had like the old lady or something like that I had to keep like making run each turn to keep the 4 points that she was giving me. So it was like we barely had any points, and you're over there sitting there with like a bajillion. So the mutant zombie guy pulled it out for us, man. That guy's the best.
I see why you think that Roy is the traitor and everything. You're trying to survive the zombie apocalypse, and he's like, but you know who the real hero is? Right? The zombies, am I right?
Well, there was no hope for us.
Any game.
There was no hope for us.
Losing the game, he is very quick to point out, you know who is winning? Matt over there. You know who? Hey guys, you know who I'd be?
Yeah, no.
I'd be worried about Matt over there.
He definitely throws that around like.
Oh my goodness,
guys!
Hey, I just want to make sure everyone's seeing what I am seeing. You got to just keep your eyes open
on somebody. Those 3 zombies will look good in Rob's area since he's got so many points. So
I totally did that too. Hector's like, oh, this says to move 3 zombies. What should we do? I was like, Rob.
I think it was just Rob.
I think the thing that's great about this is I came in late, so I was just hanging out in the kitchen talking to some people, and then Roy just kept coming out, and he's like, "Man, this game, I'm just not doing well," and just the whole time was just talking to us, hanging out. Then we'd go back in for his turn, you know, and then come back out, and then everybody comes out after the game's over. I was like, "Oh, who won?" They're like, "Roy." I was like, "What?" What? How does
he wasn't even in there half the time,
and he only won by like a couple points.
Yeah, it was super close in between the rest of us.
Yeah. But anyway, Run, Fight, or Die. It's a lot of fun. My wife loves it. It's simple. It's easy. And it's also a game I like as well because you can play by yourself. Like when nobody likes you for a day and you're home alone and it's raining really hard, you can just play with zombies all by yourself.
Forever alone mode.
Oh.
Gotta love it.
You do. And it's hard, though, when you play by yourself because, like, you don't get a break. It's your turn every time. So, how about you, Matt?
Did you have anything, or did we steal all of the games from you?
Well, because I only played Shadows over Camelot. I haven't played any tabletop sim recently, so no like side games, I suppose.
Well, do we want to just get into it?
I think we should just get dirty.
Awesome. Well, our topic for tonight.
Did you see Josh's face?
He's like, "Oh my goodness!"
I said that.
He's like, live streaming on the internet. What? Awesome. So our topic tonight is board game development. So we're going to ask Josh some questions. We'll see if he has the answers for them. So our first question here is, what exactly is board game development?
That's a good question. Board game development is basically the process of taking a designer's game and finishing it, right? So like the role of a board game developer is to work with the designer to make their game the best possible game that it can be.
Gotcha. What does a developer do specifically, like the person with the title of developer? Are they just in charge of that process?
Kind of, yeah. As head of game development at Gray Fox, I'm pretty much in charge of that process, but I do a lot of the actual development myself. My role is basically I'm there with the game at every step of the process, right? When we pick up a game, it's a game that I've usually looked at and vetted and said, hey, I think this would fit in our line.
Nice.
Right? I'm the person who sets up playtest groups and sends a game out for playtesting and gets feedback and tries to find the strongest and weakest points of the game. The guy who writes up reports for the designer and say, this is where I think the core of your game is. This is what people seem to have the most fun with, and these are the things that are not working, and here are some ideas for fixing them or removing them or replacing them or something.
What about creative? Like, do you help develop any, like, fine-tune rules or fine-tune any, like, certain steps or anything like that?
Yes. Yeah, I do all of that. The development is a relationship with the designer. And so I like to work with the designer as closely as I can, because by the time a game gets to us, they've been working on it for months and sometimes years. They know the systems inside and out. And when I have a reaction to a game and say, hey, what about this? It may be something they've done already. So it doesn't make sense for me to just sort of take over. And I don't want to anyway. Designers know their designs better than I do. But I definitely do add new mechanics, tweak rules, adjust math. I do whatever the designer and publisher need me to do. And really, that's a lot of my role as a developer, is to be sort of a liaison between the two, to create a game that is what the publisher wants while helping the designer keep it as close to their original vision as they imagined.
So, like, if we were to put this in, like, the movie world, the designer would be the director and you would be the chief editor.
I think that's probably a good comparison, although I'm much more literary than film-oriented, but I do think of my job as being a lot like an editor.
Okay. We love anime movies, so for us, film is big.
You say you love anime movies?
Oh, bro. I will cut you.
Princess Mononoke provides a go-to line for me when I talk about development. Have you seen that movie?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I missed that.
They talk about seeing the world with eyes unclouded.
Nice.
That's pretty much what I attempt to do with designs. When a designer has a game, they have all this emotional baggage around the game. Yeah. It's their baby. And when I come to a game, I don't have any of that baggage. So I'm often able to see problems that they don't see and more willing to make cuts that they wouldn't make. And I often do that. I go, well, leave the game with me for a couple of weeks, and then I return it to them in a different shape than it was and say, what do you think of this? And then they build off of that.
Cool.
Do designers take it hard sometimes on different things like that? I guess it depends on the person, but...
Yeah, it definitely depends on the person. And some people are very married to their ideas, and they fight hard to keep them, and sometimes they should. Sometimes they hold on to things longer than I think is probably good for the game. But to date, we've never sort of done a project where anybody just sort of had to go rogue, where either me or the designer went, nope, this is the way it has to be, and your say doesn't matter anymore. It's never gotten that heated.
Gotcha.
Usually
nobody's cried yet.
Yeah, we've certainly had sticking points on games where either I've stuck to my guns or something, or a designer has, and then through playtesting and feedback from other people, it has borne out sort of proof one way or the other, and everybody involved has always been ready to go like, yeah, you're right. The thing that you fought for is the right thing. And I mean, that's what we want. It's what everybody wants for the game. It's what the publisher wants, it's what the developer wants, and it's what the designer wants. They want to make the best game possible and get it into the hands of as many people who will love it as possible.
That's awesome.
Well, cool.
We've covered a few of these other questions, but what is the biggest challenge for developing, do you think?
I mean, again, I think that's something that's really situational. The biggest sort of challenge in the abstract is just finding this balancing act between delivering a product to a publisher that is the thing that they want to sell, also maintaining a game as being a work of art in the way that the designer intends it to be.
Matt, your mic is really loud.
Oh.
I'm not sure if it's because you're just up on it or what the deal is. Sorry about that.
So
He's just so excited.
I thought there was a
just look
train
at
or
his
something.
face.
It's the Matt Train!
Ticket to Ride had come to life in the game.
Exactly. Awesome.
Look at that beard.
So what was it like developing Champions of Midgard? That's a game that we've talked about several times on the show. But it's
such a big game this year too.
Have you guys played it?
I played it. I don't
You've
know
played
if the rest of them have.
I haven't.
Okay.
But I played it, and JJ actually taught us how to play the game. He's like, "Oh, I'll teach you guys how to play it." And the whole time he was like, "Oh, they kept this in, they took this out," or different things like that. So it was super exciting. But
yeah, he was the leader of one of the playtest groups early on in the development of that game.
So it was pretty fun learning how to play from him, and then we actually played it at Gen Con because one of my other friends, Trevor, actually got a copy of the game. Like he had to get in line like the first day and like beat the crowd to be able to get one. But
good. I'm glad he got one. The last day was pretty intense with people running in through the door. I didn't see it, but I heard the line got a little ugly.
Did you guys do a thing where you release a certain amount like each day, or?
Yeah, we brought we had 150 copies airshipped in from China ahead of the main run, and we had 75 available on day one, and then 25 each day thereafter because we wanted to make sure that there were some available every day. So if people were not there right at the beginning, they'd still have a shot. But on the last day, after we had removed damaged copies and a couple review copies, and there were 12 left, and people had lined up like 3 hours early, it was a mob scene.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was there any loss of life? No, I'm just kidding.
And to the best of my knowledge,
did
no.
anyone go full Viking?
There may have been some pushing and shoving. There were no axes, thankfully. It didn't escalate to that.
Dude, you got to roll the axes.
That would have been amazing if like somebody went to the LARPing booth and like grabbed some like foam swords and just started hitting everybody.
Next year,
if they made it enough of a show, we probably could have gotten them a copy.
I would say next year I propose like the best dressed, like the theme of the game, like the best dressed person actually gets to like get the copies, go to the front of the line.
We're gonna have to do something really scandalous so I can see you in a ridiculous cosplay outfit.
I'd wear a dress.
But I don't know. I mean, developing that game was a lot of fun. The designer was really good to work with, Ole Steinus, who also designed Police Precinct and Spurs. Is like he was really easy to work with. When he brought us the initial version of the design, and I played it and play tested it and wrote up sort of a report with my thoughts and my feedback on it and sent it to him. He was really quick to take the criticism and implement it and try and improve the game. And we went back and forth for a couple of versions, and he made a lot of great changes. And then when we had the final version in house, I worked on it for a couple of months, making tweaks and adjustments and adding in really only one, I think, new mechanic before we sent it back to him for sort of a final take on it. He gave us some great feedback on where we had it, and we just worked together to put out an awesome game.
How long was that like entire process, start to finish?
I mean, it's hard to say. Like they had, Gray Fox had decided to publish that game when they found a copy at BGG Con 2013, but it wasn't necessarily like in development that whole time. It was something that I saw prior to the start of this year and had written a report on and play tested a little bit and then sent back to Ole. But only at the start of this year did we start really looking at it seriously and trying to finish it. So it was probably 6 months of sort of intense development.
Yeah.
With like sort of casual development prior to that.
Okay. I was always interested in stuff like that. Like, once you guys do get the ball rolling on a game and an idea, like that whole process, just the time frame, from start to finish to get out the door.
The general sort of time frame that I tend to look for is about 9 months for a game, from when we really start focusing on development until
like a baby.
Yes, until we deliver that game, and that's not assuming you're running a Kickstarter campaign or
yes,
it has really intense components. But basically, we do 3 to 4 rounds of intensive development interspersed with playtesting and blind playtesting to get a game where we want it, and then start working on manufacturing. But there can be a lot of extra lead time in there depending on how aggressive the publisher wants to be with getting the title out, and how much a designer wants to be involved. And so often designers who will want to work all the way until the end of the development process will add a little extra time onto it because you're collaborating long distance. Not everybody's living in Orlando, right? So we're sending prototypes back and forth to one another and Skyping and doing things like that, which adds time, but probably ultimately ends up with a better game.
I'm sure all the board gamers out there appreciate longer development times. Everybody wants the brand new games, and when they hear about a game, it's like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. But development seems like it's very important for making sure that the game is amazing and isn't broken in certain ways.
Yeah,
I will wait for that better quality game.
We rely really heavily on playtesters. Like part of my job is to break a game, and I think I'm pretty good at it. But it certainly helps to have other perspectives. And there are times when a designer thinks a game is done, and I think a game is done, and Gray Fox is ready to publish, and we send it out to blind playtesters, and somebody goes, "Well, what about this?" And it comes back, and we all just kind of look at it and go, yeah, how did we miss that?
Yeah.
So like we owe a lot to the playtesters in order to get out the best game possible.
A little earlier, you mentioned that with Champions of Midgard, you added kind of a newer mechanic to the game. How often does that happen? Is it like, or are they like larger mechanics, or are you just like adding in like relatively classical elements that help to balance things?
Nice.
I don't know, honestly. Like I like to think that I always bring something to a game. Otherwise, what am I doing there?
Yeah.
And certainly we draw on tried and true things in order to do that. Like whenever possible, we'd like to add an asymmetrical element to a game. Right? We want players to feel like their role in the game is unique to them.
I'm a huge fan of that.
Right.
Yeah.
So the notion of saying, like, let's add something asymmetrical is very tried and true. The actual implementation can be sort of new. With Champions of Midgard specifically, the troll mechanic that we ended up with had a lot to do with the work that I did on the game. But as it went into the game was something that we developed in-house. The whole concept of the troll being this destructive force was there from the start. When Ole brought the game to us, the troll originally attacked the village every turn and literally like attacked the village. He destroyed something. And so you'd start taking out buildings.
Gotcha. And
you'd lose places where workers could go, and then you would, through killing the troll, eventually be able to make those available again.
Huh.
And it didn't work mechanically. It worked thematically,
right?
But it didn't work mechanically.
Right. And why would someone want to waste their turn to fight off a troll to help someone else get a building back so they can place their worker on it?
Right, but there was also this sort of escalation factor where in the beginning of the game, you weren't stocked up enough to handle the troll.
Right.
And then by the midway point, everybody was. And so what thematically seemed like, who knows when the troll might break things, was like, the troll is always going to break things on the first couple of turns, and then by the end, he's not going to do anything.
Right.
And we went through a couple different variations of that, and we went through versions of the game that removed it all together, and then versions that brought it back, and games where there were multiple trolls and all sorts of things. And when we got to sort of the game being almost ready, I had sort of inelegantly shoehorned a crush the leader mechanic on there.
Yes.
Where it was like the troll hits who's ever winning.
Yeah, so when I played the game, I fought the troll almost every single round that I could. And then I let it go through a couple times just so that way I'd have something to get rid of. Because the way the troll works is, what are the counters called exactly that it gives you, like the negative victory points?
Yeah, they're blame tokens.
So basically, he gives everybody a blame token if nobody fights the troll off or nobody successfully fights the troll off. He gives everybody blame tokens for ruining the town or whatever. But if you go
This is your fault.
Exactly. All the Vikings get mad at you. But if you go and fight the troll, you get to get rid of one of your own blame tokens, and everybody else doesn't get one, but you still specifically get to give another player a blame token. So one of the other players was doing really good in the game. Well, besides me, we were all kind of even, but one was doing specifically better. So I just kept attacking the troll, getting rid of my blame tokens, and throwing them on Trevor, like, constantly. By the end of the game, he had so many that, like, he had to take the first player token to stop me from attacking the troll, and, like, he had to just waste his first turn fighting the troll off so that way I wouldn't continue to sandbag him. And the game was really close. He still ended up winning, but, like, I diverted his strategy and, like, made him less efficient by just blaming him every single turn.
And we're actually really happy with the mechanic as it is now. I really like where it ended up, because the version prior to this was it didn't give the players any agency. It was just that the troll went for the winner. And in this case, you had a strategy where you got to fight him off in order to blame him, and that adds that much needed player interaction to the game. And yeah, I think it worked out really well.
I thought it was amazing. That was one of my favorite parts. I mean, just the attacking and combat altogether, because I've never played a worker placement where you gain dice that help you in combat to be able to fight off these mythical creatures, because you have like the Duragar, like White Walker type creatures that you're fighting off over here, and then you have the troll that you're fighting here. You can also send your Vikings out to go fight they have to get on a boat and go like overseas to fight these giant monsters, and it felt very thematic for what is sort of like a Euro-y, like, points gaining game where you have the points tracker on the board. Like, we're like all super thematic people, so that was very exciting for me to actually be able to roll some attack dice in a worker placement game.
Well, let's give another shout out to Ole Steinus here. He is a Danish game designer, and this is a game that he brought to us with this theme, and we kept the theme because it worked so well. He came in with a knowledge of Viking lore and mythology, being from that region of the world, and went, "This is the game," and we went, "Yeah, it is."
I would say that just makes it so much more epic. Does he have a beard?
The last time I saw him, maybe just a little stubble. He's a very professional Viking.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
The business casual Viking.
Yeah,
He's the boss.
He looks a little bit like this.
Nice.
I'd do what he says.
Awesome.
Guy ever comes to you wearing a helmet with horns, you do what they say.
Yeah, no doubt.
So what other games have you worked on developing or helped with?
Historically inaccurate, by the way.
Thanks, Matt.
I'm just gotta throw it out there.
Yeah, I've helped a little bit with development for a handful of games. I consulted on Conquest of Speros, which was Grey Fox's first game. I consulted a little bit with Robert Burke on Operation Faust, and have a development credit in that game.
Nice.
Other than Champions of Midgard, Captain's Wager is the game which I have put the most work into.
Gotcha.
Yep. So that was Grey Fox's second title. It was the first thing that I developed full time. And if you guys haven't seen it, it's a betting and hand management game in a steampunk pirate universe. So it's basically steampunk pirate poker.
Nice.
Cool. Okay.
We'll definitely have to
check that out.
Yep, that released this month with Conquest of Speros and Operation Fast. They all came out August 17th.
So you guys at Gray Fox have been very busy releasing a whole bunch of games here recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we are a small publisher, and we started out slow and have really ramped up. So we expect to put out 2 or 3 more games by the end of the year.
Oh my gosh!
Have about 8 in the publishing queue altogether. Our plan is to do 6 a year, and then upwards from there.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
How big is your staff, if you don't mind me asking? And do you have any openings?
It's actually not an easy question to answer, right? The Gray Fox crew is kind of a core bunch of 3 guys right now. But because Gray Fox started as an affiliate of Cool Stuff Inc., we rely on Cool Stuff to do a lot for us. So they do our fulfillment and our shipping, and we get to ask for help from their graphics department when we want to do advertising and things like that. So like three guys at the core, and then the whole staff of our partners.
Do you mind if I asked a question that wasn't emailed, because you kind of answered it? Yeah. Is that all right?
Yeah, go for it.
So because I was stalking you before we knew
this is going to be one of the
bad
questions.
Well, it's not necessarily a bad question, but I saw that you did work at Cool Stuff before that, and so now, since you just said that the Gray Fox game is associated with Cool Stuff, is that how that whole transition happened? That you were helping them out on the Cool Stuff Inc. side, and then saw an opportunity and made the change then?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I started working at Cool Stuff in a management position in one of the stores.
September 2013.
I guess LinkedIn is out there for anybody.
Here we go now.
Yeah, so I started working as a manager in one of the stores, and was kind of the go-to board game guy. When people came in with questions about board games, I was the one who always handled those. And so when they started looking for designs and were trying to begin doing this publisher, they would bring designs to me and get my feedback on them, what I thought was their strengths and weaknesses were, whether I thought they were publishable, where they are, and basically because they found my feedback valuable, they started putting me into that role more and more often, until the point where it was almost like 2 jobs, where I was kind of full-time in the retail aspect, and then doing another part-time to sometimes full-time on development. And when it became clear that Gray Fox was going to take off and be a thing, and that they needed somebody, I had already established myself as somebody capable of doing the work.
That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah, we're definitely a huge Cool Stuff fans, so that's actually really cool to hear that a whole company branched off from people at Cool Stuff. So
yeah,
yes.
They know what they're doing. I've been a Cool Stuff supporter long before I lived down here and worked here. We used to order from them when I was in college in Maine, and get a couple of guys together to pick it and hit the free shipping thing. And
USM. I'll stop.
Oh my gosh, Rob.
You can just post my LinkedIn profile in the show notes. Anybody can go there.
Nice.
Rob was just like, I need to do research, but like.
Awesome. I don't know if this is on your LinkedIn or not, but what is your favorite tabletop game?
Oh,
it's
man.
not. It's not.
I agonized about that question. I was looking at it. I came in. I was like looking at the shelf, like dusting off the boxes carefully. I don't know. Like, I can't give you a favorite tabletop game. Like, it switches all the time. Like, I can kind of give you a top 5, but it won't be accurate next week.
Gotcha. So you
what's
shift
the game
in
you play
and
the
out.
most?
Sorry.
As a fan, what's the game you play the most?
The game I play the most, the game I've played the most is Werewolf.
Yeah.
And that's probably in my top 5, top 10, but it covers the whole spectrum for me. Deception, which I mentioned earlier, is probably in there, even though it's a game I've spent countless hours demoing and playtesting and prototyping, because like I love that kind of game. It's the Werewolf feel.
Right.
I love Crokinole. That's my dexterity game. Rhinonizia's Raw is just the best auction game of all time, possibly. Through the Ages is
that's a tough game.
It is two players, maybe 3. I wouldn't play it with 4.
Yeah, I haven't played with 4 yet, but it's a tough game.
And as I mentioned before the show, Sid Sackson's I'm the Boss.
We're
I need
gonna
to
have
get
to
that
play
now.
it.
That's like 5, right? That's 5-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
I'm the boss.
Do we have any overlap? Did those fire on any cylinders for you guys?
We're definitely huge werewolf fans here. Like, what do you think about One Night? Since you're such a huge like straight werewolf fan, what do you think about One Night Ultimate Werewolf?
I think that game is fine.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, I mean it's fun and it does what it sets out to do, and it lets me play a werewolf type game at a smaller player count.
Right.
And I enjoy that aspect of it, but like given the opportunity, as soon as I hit the threshold with the right number of the right people to play a game of werewolf, I would always rather play a full game of werewolf than One Night Werewolf.
Do you do a lot of the online werewolf stuff too, like JJ does?
I used to.
Gotcha.
I'm the day that Board Game Geek released their like badges for posting, I got all of them. It just put me to level 20, and that was primarily because of my history of werewolf games. I have something like 40,000 forum posts. I only have like 20 useful forum posts, but I have like 39,980 posts that are
like,
games of werewolf that probably
and
nobody
now
should
werewolf
ever
with
go back
these
and read.
rolls, and now werewolf with these rolls.
Right.
Nice.
So it's actually like my secret fear now that I have a publisher badge on Board Game Geek is that someone will go back and read every post I've ever made and just like have this caricature of me and like see professional me just going back to like college age me.
Like, look how much this guy
oh
lies.
My God, that guy.
He's lied so much. He lied to people here. He lied to people here. He's obviously not honest.
He lied.
Awesome.
He lynched his own wife here. He lied to his best friend there.
Yeah.
It's an awful character record.
I met up with some of JJ's friends to play a game of werewolf at Gen Con, and like they do a lot of like the online werewolf stuff, and I've played werewolf with like my friends and like just stuff.
Shout
like,
out to the BGG werewolf crew.
Exactly. And it was just kind of
They
like
are. Everyone's watching.
super I'm normally used to playing like werewolf super light. Well, I was playing with these guys and they're like so hardcore about it. They're like, all right, well obviously this is what's happening, and like they're mathing everything out, and I'm just like, it didn't help that I was the werewolf every single time. We played 3 games, and every single time I was a werewolf.
And you're just like, I think it's that guy.
I had to, like, since I didn't know the people and like they didn't know me, like I had to play like the clueless card way too much. But that doesn't necessarily work most of the time. So it's like, you know how to play this game. You've already lied to us several times. We're gonna kill you. I'm like, ah. But yeah, we got
to get in a game together next year at Gen Con.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
That would be amazing.
You might wipe the floor with us, seeing that you have however many games logged. So.
And the new players, the people who play on the forum now, they wipe the floor with me. I'm out of my element. I'm out of practice.
They're like, get the old hag out of here. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Old school. This guy, he calls himself a veteran. He's out.
Lynch him first. Nice. So, is there anything awesome at Gray Fox you wanted to talk about, or anything that's coming up?
There's so much awesome at Gray Fox.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, honestly. You said you played Champions of Midgard at Gen Con. Did you come by the booth?
I walked by booths. I saw the booth, but I didn't like... Yeah.
That's fair. Gen Con's a blur. We had
so big.
2 other upcoming games we were showing off at Gen Con. London Dread is one of them. It's a game we're doing in partnership with Plotmaker Games. It's a Victorian-era co-op game with time pressure. It's dark, it's gritty, it's got a programming element and an execution phase, and it's a lot of fun. We got a card-driven dungeon crawler upcoming called Adventure In that we were also showing off at Gen Con, which is kind of 2 games in one. It's a 30-minute competitive, like, race to the center and be the guy to kill the boss type of game with
I did see that.
and breaking in it. But the flip side of it is that included in that box using the same set is a co-op game where you basically go deeper and deeper into the dungeon with escalating levels of threat and see how long you can survive.
Kind of roguelike.
Yeah, that is the sort of vibe of the co-op mode.
Nice.
Those are upcoming, and we're really excited about them. And we will be relaunching a Kickstarter for Waste Riders New Desolation sometime this year. That's been actually the prime focus of my development lately. We've had some pretty big breakthroughs on that. So it's kind of Mad Max dice driven vehicular combat that is now fast and furious and a lot of fun.
That
Oh,
would
that
be
sounds
awesome
awesome.
because that was a great movie.
It was a great movie.
Oh my gosh.
I still haven't seen it.
We went to see it at the theater like a month after everybody else, so there were only 30 people in there instead of 150.
Yeah.
And my favorite scene in the movie is like at the end when they're coming back through the notch and they blow things up and the thing collapses, and my wife turns to me and she's like, I hope the truck that plays the metal music made it. And then it comes around the corner and they're like, BAM!
Yes. That dude's whole role was just to rock out with a flaming guitar and all the big bass drums behind him. That
He was a staple. It was
absolutely awesome.
amazing.
That was so amazing. And I think the main character, half of his lines were like, huh, yeah, uh-huh, and they were grunts. I mean, such an awesome movie. And it worked. It didn't matter that he didn't say anything.
Yeah,
The whole
it was so
movie.
fun.
So, yeah, you guys are doing a game like that. I'm already in. Like, I'm in.
That's
Awesome.
awesome.
Yes. Well, can I ask you another question? This is a good
Yeah.
question.
Ask me things.
So-
Matt can ask me things too. I know he's here.
I'm
He just-
lost in thought,
Right?
as I constantly am on a weekly basis because I'm just so far behind.
It's because I'm so deep.
He's soaking in all the
you
board
guys-
game knowledge.
Rob, what do you
give
want to
very
know?
well thought answers.
So I was just wondering, like, not that I know your background, but like,
You do.
what-
You've literally researched every aspect of my past. Do you
But
want
what
to talk
got
about my
you-
childhood?
No. They don't have a section for that on my LinkedIn. I don't have the pro. I just have the normal LinkedIn. But like you definitely have a creative background, and also, well, you used to be a teacher and things like that. And so my question is, how did you get involved in the transition of board games? Like, what clicked for you that made you want to get involved in this industry? Because you said you've been a fan and a board gamer for a long time. When did you decide, and how did you decide to make this your career?
It's an interesting question. It's a fascinating question, and honestly, I don't think I can pinpoint a moment where I went like this is what I'm going to work towards doing. Right when I went to college for English, and that my major was English, and my minor focus was
Yes, I know.
sociology and creative writing, because having a creative career has always appealed to me, and my role in education was much the same. Like the most rewarding aspects of teaching were finding a way to creatively put together a lesson plan to share knowledge with these different, like a whole group of people with different brain types that you need to get to all learn the same thing in a million different ways because everybody's different, right? So that process is kind of board gamey, right? The
Yeah.
best games are games with multiple paths to victory, and that's sort of your role as a teacher in a classroom.
Yes.
So like there's always been some sort of overlap around the fact that like I get the most satisfaction from doing something creative. I like the puzzle aspect, but I like doing stuff with people that you can see them enjoying what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I had always thought that writing is something that I would do, and truly I'm a better editor than I am a writer, as much as I would like to tell myself otherwise. And I think that also clicked in development, that when as much as I would like to sit down and design a game, that the process of turning nothing into something may not be in my skill set, but the process of taking something and being able to quickly find the parts that make the most sense and the parts that need to be fixed and the parts that need to go away just made it a really natural fit, that when the opportunity was presented to me to do this with Grey Fox kind of on the side, it clicked so thoroughly that as soon as I started doing it, I went, oh yeah, this is what I want to be doing, and threw myself into it wholeheartedly.
Awesome.
Is developing a board game to you like playing a board game?
It is not entirely, but certain aspects of it are, because
Yeah.
like I'm I'm what the Board Game Geek micro badges call an omni gamer. Like I play everything.
Nice.
And so the process of doing development has a lot more in common with the games that are more Euro than the games that are more thematic. Often, because you need to have a focus on the mechanics and the math and how it will play out over a long period of time. But the fact that I play so many different games and identify with so many different activities of games as fun helps me be a developer, because when I work with a designer, I need to identify what their strong suit is and kind of be their opposite, the yin to their yang. So if the designer I'm working with brings me something that's really thematic, it becomes my job to focus on making sure the mechanics are tight, because their focus is obviously elsewhere. And if they bring me what is essentially a puzzle, it becomes my job to tap into that creative writing side of me and find the story that puzzle tells best.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
I don't know if I answered the question. I feel like...
No, I think you did. I mean, I know I didn't give you any time to think about it, and I know it's kind of like a big question. You know, it's not just something like... I thought you did well, you know, for your pitch, but, you know, it's just like, for some people, they do have that one, like, you know what? I want to focus my life on this, like... And so some people have that aha moment. Other people, it's just been a whole type of lifestyle. And that's what it kind of sounds like with you. Like, you know, based on the decisions and things that you've gone for and done with your life, like it just always seemed to fit, you know, just part of who you are. And so I was just interested, just want to get to know a little bit more.
Yeah, I dabbled. I dabbled in lots of creative enterprises. But in all of the things that I've done professionally in my life, board gaming has always been a part of my personal life, and when the opportunity came to merge them, it was a no-brainer to go for it.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Awesome. Do we have time for our email this week?
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely.
I mean, last week we overshot by 20 minutes, so
Nice.
I think this week
As long
we
as
can...
Josh doesn't have to go to bed, it might be his curfew.
It is my bedtime, but I still have half of this Viking Icelandic toasted porter. So yeah, let's do some email.
Nice. So you guys can email us at epicgamingnight@gmail.com if you want to get your question onto the podcast. But our email this week is from @AnalogGamer, our friend Brandon. He says, what classic modern board game are you embarrassed to say that you have yet to play, if any?
Oh man, is that for everybody, or is that just for
I'm gonna
me?
have to say I'm embarrassed that I haven't
Everybody.
played I'm the Boss, because Josh was telling us before the podcast that it's an awesome negotiation game that we should be playing.
It's a Sid Saxon classic. But,
Exactly.
I mean,
So
it's also like 30 plus years old, so you get a pass, I guess.
yeah, that's
a
some of
literal
the things that I really love, though, is like the games that are like Cosmic Encounter and Dune and stuff like that. The games that are like super old, like that are older than I am, and that are still being played and people still love them. Like that stuff's very intriguing to me. So that's a game that I'm definitely gonna have to check out.
You'll love it. Play it with 6.
Nice.
How about you, Josh?
Man, I don't know, honestly.
Josh is like, I played all the games.
I'm
I
trying.
have the Omni
I'm
badge. bro.
trying to think of what games are classic and modern that I haven't played. There are certainly some classic modern games that I don't like, and people are surprised that I don't like them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I want to hear some other people's answers, and maybe I'll find something I haven't played in there.
I've
I
still
will
never
say-
played the number one off of BGG, which is
Twilight
Twilight Struggle?
Twilight Struggle.
Oh,
And
that
I
game was
I should
awesome.
I should play it just because some people, like, everybody loves it, but like for some reason, like, my dad loves like war games. He loves like the B-17 bombers going in doing all sorts of stuff and like all sorts of like
Yeah, this is not
historical war game things. And I know that's not a war game. I know it's like super like lots of different things and like card like controlling different stuff. But for some reason the theme does like nothing for me whatsoever. Like,
Oh man,
I'm
it's
all
all
about
spies
space.
and espionage and, you know, behind the curtain, you know, kind of crazy stuff. It's the Cold War, like, and I when I played the game, I didn't realize Like, if half of this stuff on these cards is true, we did some crazy, shady stuff during the Cold War. Like I know we were like, hey, get those missiles out of Cuba, but then we're also like killing a lot of people in Asia and like stuff was going on. It's like, oh my gosh, like this is why everyone hates us. I get it. Like, okay,
The Cold War was dark times.
it was really dark. Like I said, if half of the information on those cards is true, man, we did some buku stuff.
So I really need to play it just because it's the #1 on Board Game Geek, and so that way I can actually put down my vote for what, like, my ranking on Board Game Geek. So not that would sway it, but I want to be able to say that I've played it.
Yeah, I would say for me, it's probably Catan. I've never played Catan.
That still seems crazy to me.
Hey, man. It's okay.
Holy smokes, Roy! Have you been living in a cave?
You mean Rob?
Oh, holy smokes,
Yeah.
Rob! Have you been living in a cave?
He has been living in a cave, obviously.
I have a cave full of board games. I just don't play.
He has a cave full of Risk Legacy.
Bro, I do. I do have a lot of Risk Legacy. I've thrown away more boxes than people have played.
So why haven't you played Settlers of Catan, Rob?
It like does nothing for me.
How do you know?
Well, like I've had people
Excellent question.
like it's trading and negotiation and stuff like that, but it's like little meeples. Like unless my meeples can jump on your meeples and attack your meeples village,
There's not even
and
any
just, like,
meeples in the game. It's all buildings and
Yeah, but it's-
roads.
But
Right?
unless his buildings can
And cities?
fire rockets out of silos.
The more
on
you
your
describe
buildings.
it, Roy, the less I want to play it. Please keep
Rob's
going.
like, if it's got wooden pieces, I'm out. I just
No, Flick 'em Up has got wooden pieces in there. Amazing.
Okay,
That's
well.
awesome. But in Flick 'em Up, you're literally flicking them at each other and things are blowing up and knocking down. And
I mean,
It's
You could do
Crocodile
that,
with
Nick.
theme, right?
yes, the cowboy theme is amazing. I don't know. I'm not a big Euro game guy. It's just, it's not my thing. And it's not that they're not fun. There's a lot of amazing Euro games. I just kind of find the same broken strategy with Euro games. If I'm ever winning, people can't catch up with me. It's like there's really no way for you to catch up. I found my formula's working, and I'm beating you. And vice versa. It sucks when you're the guy in the rear because you're like, I can't do anything. They really just won the game if they write it out, X amount more times.
You just told me that your skill set is breaking Euro games, which means next time that JJ runs a playtest group for me, he has to request that you're in it.
I mean, I do like to do that. I would love to play test the game, but I really do try to find a way to break it, like what we do with card games or other things like that, where it's like, I know the strategy, and you can't stop it. And it's really like if I'm able to get X card and X card, game's done. Like, it's over.
I think with Settlers of Catan, there's a lot of like randomness added into it, so that like changes your strategy a lot, and also like you have to play off the other players. Like that trading is half that game. Matt, you said you played Settlers of Catan and no one ever traded.
Yeah.
I was like, trading is that game. Like that's
I
part
bet
of
that
it.
wasn't much fun.
Well, so it actually didn't bother me because the way it was set up, we played with 4, and there was one guy kind of in one corner, and then I was in, or not a corner, but well, I guess technically a corner. It's a hexagon, but he was in a corner. I was in a corner, kind of far away, and then the other 2 people were really close. So those 2 people were fighting the whole time, and I would just like constantly roll and end up moving the thief, and I would just be like, okay, well, I'm just gonna put it here so you guys can't do anything.
And I take one of your resource cards.
And see, yeah, and that was the thing. It was like they were the only people that had logs, and I was like, oh no. So I'm just like, hey guys, you want to trade logs? And they were like, with you? No. I was like, perfect, perfect.
Well, you may have caused that yourself.
Well, yeah, but it is what it is.
I will say this: I'm not opposed to playing the game. Like, if we were to whip it out, I'd give it a shot. But I have no desire to say, hey, Roy, man, on that Friday night, Epic Gaming Night, let's play some Catan. I'm like the opposite. I'm like, let's play Ghost Stories.
Bob, I'm here to tell you, it's okay.
Thank you, Josh.
You
I
don't-
feel
You don't have to go back and play all the classic games. These games are giants in this hobby and in this industry, but so many games have taken the things that they brought and done them
Making them
again
better.
and done them better and done them fresher and done them newer. You don't have to go back and play everything. That
And
doesn't
there are
mean you
so
have to be
many
cult of the
amazing
new. If
games.
somebody says, man, I love this Catan expansion because it's the best game ever, like, give it a shot. games are not just bad because they're old. You don't have to play them just because
that is true.
Classics.
Games are not bad just because they're old. Well, one of my favorite games ever is I love Risk, but I mean that's super old. But I do understand what you're saying. I feel better about myself.
I
Josh.
loved Catan for a long time, and
yes.
I traded it away, and I've never looked back. It's
well,
okay.
see, like the games I grew up playing were Axis and Allies and Risk. It was all, and I think the reason why I love them so much is it didn't matter how great your strategy was. If you didn't roll the dice well, like it can really mess you up, and that's what I love about dice and Ameritrash games, because you can have the best plan. Because I have mastered Risk. I know how to win. Like I have 12 different versions. I've played 8 boards of Risk Legacy. I'm just really good at Risk. But if I roll the dice really bad, it doesn't matter. Like that's what I love. Whereas a Euro game, you can find a strategy, and once you find it, you can't beat me. It's so. But I feel better about myself, sir.
That's why there's dice in Champions of Midgard.
And I'm going to have to pick up Champions of Midgard because of what Trevor and JJ and Roy have said. And plus, it's freaking Vikings, man. It's like, it's Vikings and trolls. Like, oh my gosh, that sounds so amazing.
And the art is killer. It's
and
the
sea
artist
serpents
Victor Corbet.
I did see it getting demoed a lot at Gen Con, and I have seen a lot of the artwork. It really does look like a very beautiful game.
Yeah, the guy who did Samurai Spirit did the art for our Cards in that game.
Oh, nice!
Awesome,
fantastic job. So it's really cool.
Awesome.
I came up with the modern classic. I'm ashamed to say I haven't played.
Which one?
I'm really kind of ashamed, and I cheated. I went to BGD and kind of scrolled through to find something that I haven't played. And it's Galaxy Trucker.
What? Galaxy Trucker's so good.
And I'm
in the same boat. Yeah.
Heard it.
Roy, you can say that.
Over
Matt, you can say that about any game. You haven't played anything.
And
I was going to say I had 2.
I'm only kind of ashamed. I'm only kind of ashamed that I haven't played it because it's not like I accidentally didn't play it. I've been avoiding it.
It's because you're not ready, Josh. It's because you're not ready for the epicness.
When somebody first told me about that game, I had just played Factory Fun for the first time.
Yeah,
it has that real-time element of grabbing stuff and putting in your thing and then seeing how you screwed yourself over really badly. And that's not fun for me. So
doesn't it just make you in a really bad mood? Like, why did I just grab that stupid piece? The game is over.
You're just like, I'm stupid. Yes. Yes. So for a while, that's all my group wanted to play, and they'd say, "Do you want to play Factory Fun?" And I'd go, "I just call it Factory." So when somebody told me about Galaxy Trucker, I was just like, "I'm out.
Screw you." I'm not playing. Yeah.
I've heard such great things. I should probably go back and give it a shot.
I mean, you can't really go wrong with Vlaada. I mean, his games are crazy. But I love Galaxy Trucker. It might just be because like I can grab those pieces and put them in the right place like pretty quickly. There's probably people that are way better at it than me, but it is kind of one of those games where it's like you get ahead like and knowing how to play the game, and other people can't catch up because just like I'm throwing tiles down all over the place and like building this amazing ship, and then everybody else is like, "Wow, your ship looks really good." But then I still get blown up sometimes, so it's a lot of fun. I like it.
I bet it's satisfying for them to watch you get blown up.
Yeah, they're really excited when the asteroids hit me. Just like everybody else, it just bounces off, and the asteroid hits me just right where I didn't have myself protected, and like splits my ship in half. That sort of thing. It's always sort of fun. But yeah, I love that game. That game's a ton of fun.
Josh, what are your feelings on Robo Rally? If you're not really that keen on timed things,
I also don't love Robo Rally.
Okay,
nice. So it's just a time mechanic thing.
It's interesting because like I love the idea of programming, and like, there have been a couple of times where it's worked out in a way where I go, well, that was really fun and satisfying. But Robo Rally is a game that like I've played it probably 3 or 4 times. And I just have this memory of the experience of the game was that at some point it was fun, and then at some point it was less fun, and then at some point, at a point of time very far removed from there, I was still playing.
Was it one of those situations where someone made the map just way too big? Or
I'm sure that's always been the case, but
or was someone just everyone was really terrible at the game, so they couldn't actually end it?
I mean, that is probably a factor too. But
I think
that game needs a mechanic that makes it have a terminus point that is not player dependent. Like, it has to recognize at some point the fun is over and you have to put the game away now.
I'm normally really good at that game too. My thing is like the other player element, the fact that people can push you. Like, I'll have my cards perfectly laid out. Everything was where it needed to be. And I did it like just as fast, if not faster than everyone else. Like, cause I can see the patterns and like throw them down real quick. And then this one guy pushes me over one space, and it's just all gone.
That's the part I love about that game.
I know, that's amazing. And they just laugh because they're like, "We got Roy. We did it. We made it happen." Like, none of the rest of the game matters. We pushed Roy off of his path, and now he fell into a hole. It's great.
I just like that when we played, Ryan was like, "All right, I'm doing bad. I'm doing real bad. So, I only have one card to play right now, so I just don't even care what I'm playing." So he was just throwing random stuff down out of his hand, and he'd flip the timer over to be like, "All right, guys, here we go." Everybody's like,
yeah, so just rush the clock. And I was still doing really good, just throwing down all my cards really fast. Like, I could make it happen, but AJ had to just go up there and get in the way.
Yeah, man. It's doing work.
Hey, speaking of the question of the week, is Analog Gamer still having that T-shirt contest? Because I would love for nobody else to fill anything out, since I've already like shared it and filled it out, and like I'm really trying to get that free T-shirt again.
Yes, but it ends tomorrow, so it might be gone. It might be down by the time the podcast comes on. So make sure to check out analoggamer.com.
Man,
Rob's gonna win all the free shirts.
That's right, Brandon. Do you hear what I'm saying? Brandon, I'll LinkedIn you too, buddy. I'll know everything about you too.
You're obsessed with this T-shirt.
I'd rather spend my money on board games, so if I can get free clothes, I'd rather, like, okay. Like, this goes another day because I'll buy another game. But I'm not allowed to buy a game for a while because I'm in trouble because I spent a lot of money at Gen Con. So,
yeah,
it was rough.
At Gen Con next year in a towel. Like, hey, guys, I've got like $1,000 tucked away somewhere. You don't want to know where, but I've got it. Trust me.
It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. But I have a problem.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice, guys.
This year alone, I've bought over 50 games.
At Gen Con?
No, not at Gen Con. Just from like January to today.
Okay.
Josh is like, come by the Gray Fox booth.
I was actually going to ask for packing advice because there was no way that he fit all that in his luggage.
Exactly.
Well, actually, when I do my luggage, I usually pack like a little blue bag, like a Nike like gym bag. And then, because I want to save my trunk space for games. Just like, I'll go around and, hey, do you guys have a box you're not going to use anymore? Because, all your games, so can I borrow that box? I just throw games in the box.
Yeah. You throw your clothes away at the end of the con and use that suitcase space for
No, I don't throw them away. I just throw them all in the trash bag because I know they smell. Because when you wear like the same shirt for like 3 days, surrounded by 60 people, and they're touching you get one of those Febreze trash bags, that stretch. And
you wear that under your clothes for the sake of your fellow gamers.
Oh god!
No,
like
I'm actually
deodorant.
I will say, and I know I just made that comment, but I'm pretty paranoid about smells, and so I do like to shower and put on my deodorant and stuff like that. And this year I was actually good with clothes because, again, Analog Gamer, Brandon Pleshik.
Yeah, you wore like a different one of his shirts like every day, didn't you?
Now, did I have the same pair of shorts on? Yes, but my shirt was new, and it was just because I was saving room for games. I ended up like at Gen Con, I came home with like 16 games or something like that.
That's awesome. Awesome, guys. Well, I guess that's been a podcast. Thanks for everybody who listened to this.
Josh, you've been amazing.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
This was.
But you can check out the podcast. We live stream on Twitch every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and that is at www.twitch.tv/Epic Gaming Night. Also, make sure to check us out on our Twitter and Instagram, and that's at Epic Gaming Night. And make sure to hit us up on Facebook too. Josh, where can they find you at?
They can follow me on Twitter at @Lobkowicz. They can follow Gray Fox at Gray Fox Games, and they can check out the Gray Fox Games page on Facebook if they want to get updates about all the cool stuff we're doing.
How do you spell your Twitter login? Because there's no way I'd be able to find that listening on the audio.
Yeah, my personal one is the letter J, and then my last name, which is LOBKOWICZ. And that's where I post about my game developer blog and things like that I do on Indie Cardboard. Gray Fox Games is Gray with an E, and that's where you go to get all the updates about upcoming stuff from Gray Fox Games.
Nice. Well, thanks a ton for coming on the show. It was a ton of fun.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to be here. Thanks.
We had a blast.
Okie doke, guys. Well, I guess we'll see you guys next week, hopefully. And, that's it.
We've missed you terribly already. We love you guys so much.
It's true. We love you like we love games. And like we love beer.
That's intense.
Mm.
Peace.
Yeah.
Peace.
Okay, doke. So that's the whole podcast. We're still live on